The sky above the arena was dark with smoke and neon fire. Giant screens flickered with alien symbols and war chants. Thousands of creatures from dozens of planets screamed, laughed, and pounded their fists. The Blood Arena was the most brutal. Battleground in the galaxy. It was where warriors died for sport and where crowds paid to watch it happen. That day, one expected a good laugh. A new fighter had been scheduled, a human girl, a weak, small, fragile human girl. Guards opened the main gate with a loud metal screech. The crowd roared louder. They were ready to see her torn apart in seconds. Many had placed bets that she wouldn't last past the first strike. Then she appeared. A young girl walked out into the bright red sand. She had no shoes, no armor, no weapons. Her long, dark hair moved gently in the hot wind. She looked like she had just woken up from sleep. Her hands were tied in front of her with simple cord. Her face had no fear, no anger, no hate. She was calm. The crowd went silent for a moment, surprised. Some aliens laughed. A few shouted insults in strange languages. One of the announcers zoomed in the camera and shouted across the arena, introducing ... the final survivor. Of the pathetic species known as humans, a girl named Lena. The crowd howled with laughter. Many aliens stood and pointed at her, thinking this would be the funniest execution of the season. But Lena didn't look at them. She looked at the floor. Then she looked up at the tall figure standing across from her. A giant creature over 8 feet tall stood with heavy black armor, glowing red eyes, and 2 hooked blades in his fists. The champion of the arena. His name was Skarn. He had killed over 100 enemies in the Blood Arena. He had broken necks, torn arms from sockets, and even crushed a tank with his bare hands. He was proud, brutal, and loved by the crowd, and now he was ready to slice this human girl in half. He raised his blade and shouted to the crowd in a deep, angry voice, "I will end her in 2 seconds." The crowd screamed with joy. Fire exploded from the walls. The gates behind Lena closed with a loud bang. Now there was no escape. But still, Lena stood calm. She tilted her head to the side, slowly. Her eyes studied the champion carefully. Not with fear, but like a student watching a machine. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even nervous. Then she smiled. That was the moment something changed. The announcers laughed nervously. Looks like she's lost her mind. The champion is walking toward her, and she's smiling. Skarn took a heavy step forward, the ground shaking beneath his metal boots. He raised one blade high in the air. "Let this be your final second, little human." He charged. The crowd rose to their feet. Lena waited, and in the very last moment, when his blade was just a foot away, she moved. It wasn't a normal movement. It was fast. So fast that most cameras missed it. Only the slowest replay captured it clearly later. She twisted her body sideways, bent low under the strike, slid behind him in one smooth step, and struck with her elbow to the base of his back. Just one hit. One strike. A loud snap echoed across the arena. Skarn froze in place. His mouth opened. In shock, his blades dropped to the sand. His knees shook, and then his spine gave out. He collapsed to the ground like a tower of bricks, face first. His body didn't move. His legs twitched once, then stopped. Total silence fell across the arena. No one cheered, no one laughed, no one believed what they saw. Lena stood beside the broken champion, looking down at his body. She didn't celebrate. She didn't pose. She didn't even speak. She just walked. Away, barefoot, calm, and quiet, inside the control room. Alien warlords stared at their screens in confusion. One of them whispered, "Rewind that footage. Slow it down." "What did she do?" another asked. "Was it a trick? Is the champion pretending?" But no. The champion's spine was shattered. His armor cracked from the inside. His nerves were completely disconnected. He would never walk again. That one hit had destroyed him. One of the analysts zoomed in on Lena's face right before the strike. Her eyes had narrowed. Her mouth had whispered something. Translator picked it up. "Your spine's too exposed." The alien commanders looked at each other. This isn't normal. No human should move like that. Where did she learn that? And far below them, in the arena tunnels, Lena was led back to her cell. The guards kept their distance this time. They didn't grab her or pull her chain. They looked at her like she was something dangerous, something unknown, inside her cold stone cell. Lena sat on the floor, crossed her legs, and closed her eyes. Her breathing was slow, peaceful, in the dark. A whisper came from the shadows behind her. "You shouldn't be alive," said a voice in a thick alien accent. Lena opened her eyes. "I'm not here to stay alive," she said softly. "I'm here to wake them up." The voice went silent. In the arena above, the crowd still hadn't spoken. People stood in silence, watching replays over and over, not understanding what they had just witnessed, and across the stars. On hundreds of alien worlds where the Blood Arena broadcast reached, millions of beings watched in silence. Some laughed nervously, some stared in fear, and some, in the deepest parts of the galaxy, whispered in dread. The humans are not extinct. The humans were waking up. And she was the first. The arena was still silent. Not even the loudspeakers played music. The blood crowd filled with warlords, bounty hunters, criminals, and alien elites just stared at the red sand, where Skarn's body still lay. The champion hadn't moved in 5 minutes. The human girl had. Lena Ward stood quietly near the outer gate. Her bare feet were stained with red dust. Her hands, no longer tied, hung calmly at her sides. No heavy breathing, no injuries, no signs of struggle. It's only her eyes. They burned with quiet focus. Inside the arena control room, technicians and strategists scrambled across the floor. Holograms flickered with rewinds and slow-motion playbacks. "She moved too fast," one alien growled. Her footwork was calculated. Another added, "No fear, no hesitation." She knew exactly where to strike. The Council of Blood Arena warlords watched the footage again. In the replay, Skarn raised his blade. Lena ducked, spun behind him, and struck once just under the third spinal plate. A clean break. A perfect move. But not just speed, precision. Knowledge. One of the Zorkai elders leaned forward. "This girl is not a gladiator," he said. "She's a weapon." In the cells beneath the arena, Lena sat in silence while robotic drones scanned her vitals. One by one, they failed to detect what they expected. No cosmetics, no implants, no drugs, just human tissue. Human muscle. Human blood. But the readings were impossible. Her reflex time was beyond elite levels. Her muscle recovery was near instant. Her pain tolerance was off the charts. One drone hesitated and scanned again. Something was hidden inside her DNA. Something new. They sedated her for transport, or tried to. The injection needle broke against her skin. The lab commander froze. Did her skin harden? Before they could try again, Lena opened her eyes. She wasn't sedated. She had pretended to sleep. And now she was watching them. Calm, cold. One guard panicked and raised a shock baton. "Don't," the commander began. But it was too late. Lena moved. She struck once, not hard, just fast. The baton flew into the air and shattered against the wall. The guard hit the ground, twitching. She turned her eyes toward the commander. "Why did you bring me here?" he stuttered. "To test you, to understand, to understand." Lena stood up slowly. "Then listen carefully." She pointed to her head. "You think you see a human?" She pointed to her chest. "You think I'm just muscle and bone?" She pointed to the fallen guard. "But you don't see this. This is not training. This is not luck. This is not rage." She walked to the center of the room. "This is the result of what your war created. This is what happens when Earth doesn't die. It evolves." The commander stared in fear. "You were part of the Human Genesis program, weren't you?" Lena said nothing, but her eyes answered. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Dozens of guards rushed toward the lab. But the moment they saw the shattered glass and broken drone units, they paused. She was unarmed. They were fully geared. And yet none of them wanted to be the first to step forward far above. In the private royal box of the arena, the alien monarchs met in secret. "This is not acceptable," one of them hissed. "The crowds are divided. Some are cheering her, others fear her. Some aspilled want more." "The blood arena was never meant for humans to win," another spat. "It was a warning to their species. A reminder." "But now," said the elder in gold robes, "she is the reminder. She is the message." They ordered her back into the arena. This time, not against one champion. Not against two. They wanted to destroy her, to end the legend before it could spread. In the darkness of her cell, Lena waited. She had not eaten. She had not slept. But her energy was rising. Her breathing was perfect. Her mind was calm. Her hands, scarred from years of pain and silence, curled slowly into fists. She whispered to herself, in a voice only the walls heard, "Let them come." And far across the galaxy, millions who had watched the first fight, humans living in hiding, enslaved, forgotten, began to feel something strange. Deep in their chest, hope something was coming. Someone had risen, and she had snapped a champion's spine in 5 seconds without blinking. The walls were white and cold. The lights buzzed softly, almost peacefully, but this place was not peaceful. This was Lab 9, deep beneath the arena's foundations. It wasn't meant for healing. It was meant for one thing: breaking things. That shouldn't exist. Lena Ward sat in the center of a containment chamber, arms locked in heavy magnetic cuffs, legs strapped to the floor. 5 cameras watched her every move. 3 scientists stood behind a reinforced glass wall, whispering to each other. "Pulse rate is steady. Blood oxygen ... higher than baseline. No fear, no stress, no fatigue ... The alien doctor leaned forward, tapping the screen. "She wants us to test her." Lena looked up. She smiled. In the observation room, General Trax, the overseer of the Zorkai arena system, arrived in full ceremonial armor. He stared at the screen. The girl didn't flinch. She stared right back through the glass, as if she could see him. "She's baiting us," he said. "Let's begin." The tests started with gravity increase. The chamber's internal field began to rise. 3G, 5G, 7G. Most humans would black out by now. Lena's hair shifted. Her skin tightened. Her breathing slowed, but she didn't collapse. She tilted her head slightly. Like she was ... enjoying it, the commander growled. "Increase to 10G." The floor cracked slightly. The magnetic cuffs hummed. Sweat appeared on the technician's brows, not Lena's. She looked into the nearest camera and whispered something. The translator picked it up. "This is warm-up." General Trax clenched his jaw. "Switch to pain induction. Level 6. Electric pulses slammed through the cuffs. Neural spikes targeted her brainstem. Lights flashed red. Her body jolted slightly. But she didn't scream. Instead, she chuckled. The doctor stepped back. "This isn't possible." "She's not human," someone muttered. "No," said Trax. "She's something Earth-made. Something we don't understand." Then maybe a voice said from the back we should stop poking it. But the general refused. "Bring in the drones." 2 war drones entered the chamber, each the size of a tank. They were armed with stun weapons, muscle cutters, and mind shock beams. They were designed to bring down full-grown war beasts. Lena was still sitting. One drone aimed. It stunned her. The beam hit her chest. She didn't even blink. She stood up slowly. Arms still chained, legs still bolted, and then she moved. She twisted her wrists. Crack. The magnetic cuffs sparked and shattered. She kicked once. Boom. The floor anchors ripped free. The first drone fired again. Lena rolled forward, dodging like a blur. She jumped, grabbed its neck joint, and ripped its head clean off. Oil sprayed. Sparks flew. The machine hit the wall and shattered. The second drone fired its mind shock beam. A bright white flash filled the chamber. Scientists cheered. "She's down. She's down." But the light faded, and Lena was still standing. Blood ran from her nose. Her skin twitched. But she smiled again. and then she walked toward the drone. "I felt that," she said softly. "Now let me return the favor." She punched straight through its armor. The second drone exploded in flames. In the observation room, alarm screamed. The general barked orders. Security teams ran to seal the chamber, but the damage was done. Lena stood in the center of the firelit lab. Breathing slow and deep, she walked up to the shattered glass wall, separating her from the scientists. They backed away. Trembling, she stared through it. "You're afraid," she said. The glass cracked, but not from impact. From pressure, her voice had changed. Her presence had changed. "She's shifting," the doctor said, eyes wide. "Her cells are reacting to trauma and emotion. She's adapting, like a weapon." "Ash," the general growled. The doctor shook his head. "No, like a system, a survival machine." Suddenly, Lena looked at the camera, and she said the words that silenced the entire base. "This is just what one of us can do. You think I'm the only one?" Then the walls shut down. Power went out. Emergency lights flickered. She had triggered something from within her blood. An electromagnetic wave and override code. She was breaking the lab from the inside. General Trax slammed his fist into the console. "Seal the arena. Do not let her reach the surface." But Lena was already moving. Calm, quiet, barefoot through the smoke. We whispered, "You brought me here to be a show. Now I'll show you what the end begins like." They called it a special event. Galactic networks broadcasted it on every major channel. Crowds gathered in massive halls. Billions watched from their ships, domes, bunkers, and palaces. The blood arena was reopening, but not for another tournament, not for tradition. This was different. She was back, a single human. Girl, barefoot and unarmed, had become the most viewed fighter in blood arena history. No one knew where she came from, what she was made of, or how she had survived experiments. Designed to break beasts and warlords, they only knew her name. Lena, a deep voice, echoed through the arena. Tonight, witness the one they could not destroy. Fire erupted across the arena walls. Giant screens showed slow-motion replays of her snapping the champion's spine, destroying the war drones, and walking through the lab like a ghost made of rage and silence. But Lena wasn't watching. She was already standing in the center of the arena, calm, barefoot, and silent.
Her long hair moved gently in the hot wind.
Her hands were open. Her posture relaxed. She didn't blink when the lights flared. She didn't flinch when the alien drums began to pound. She was waiting. The gates opened with a deep metallic growl from the left side. 2 elite fighters entered, twin war beasts with blades for arms and poison sacs in their throats. The right, a reptilian gladiator with plasma claws. Behind him, a 4-legged hunter with a skin that reflected light like a mirror. For enemies. All at once, the crowd screamed in excitement. It was an execution. A public display. This time, they wanted her erased from history with blood and fire. High above, in the royal box, the warlords watched in silence. "She can't survive this," one muttered. "She shouldn't have survived the last one," said another. But in the arena, ... Lena stood still. The war beasts hissed. The hunter crouched low. The reptilian gladiator growled. Lena looked up at the stars above and smiled. The signal blared. The fight had begun. The twin beasts charged first, moving like thunder. Sand exploded. Under their feet, one came low, one came high. Lena moved in a single motion. She spun between them. Her foot slid behind one's leg, flipping him sideways. She drove her elbow into the other's throat, crushing the poison sac instantly. Black fluid sprayed across the arena floor. The crowd gasped. She didn't stop. The hunter pounced, his mirrored skin bending light. For a split second he was invisible, but Lena didn't need eyes. She felt him. She dropped to the ground, rolled beneath his leap, and wrapped her legs around his neck. One twist, a sharp crack. He dropped. The last fighter, the reptilian gladiator, hesitated. He had seen her fight. He had studied her footage, and now, standing face to face, he realized the truth. She was faster than the footage showed. stronger. Then the data suggested colder than war. He roared and lunged, plasma claws glowing. Lena walked toward him, not ran, walked.com. Balanced she. Sidestepped his attack, then reached up and touched the center of his chest. Just one tap, he froze. Then collapsed. His body hit the sand. His heart had stopped. The arena went silent. The crowd didn't cheer. Not this time, they were too stunned. Lena looked at the nearest camera and stepped toward it. Her voice, soft but clear, echoed through every speaker on every ship, world, and outpost. I'm not here to fight. The crowd stared. I'm here to remind you. Slow zoom on her face. Her eyes burned like blue fire. Earth didn't lose. Earth prepared. And now, I'm just the first of many. She walked toward the exit gate, but before she left, she stopped. She looked back at the royal box. Where the warlords stood frozen in their seats, she raised her hand and pointed. One by one, she said, "You laughed at us." She pointed to the sand. "But you forgot something." She turned and disappeared through the gate. The screen cut to black and across the galaxy. An ancient fear began to return. The humans are waking up. The arena was dark again. No lights, no crowd, no fire. Only silence and the scent of blood still trapped in the sand. Lena was gone, not escaped. Released. The warlords said nothing publicly. But behind sealed doors, beneath layers of steel and shadow, their voices were sharp, fast, and shaking with fear. She's not a girl. She's a system virus wrapped in human skin. She's not fighting for Earth. She is Earth. But fear alone doesn't rule galaxies. Control does. So the decision was made. Send the Silent Four. No cameras would see this fight. No crowd would cheer. No bets would be placed. It would happen in darkness. The Silent Four were assassins trained on dead moons. Each one was genetically altered, each designed to kill species that refused to die quietly. They didn't speak. They didn't sleep. They moved like ghosts. And now they were being sent to kill Lena Ward. She was resting in a cell again. But this time it wasn't locked. The warlords had made it look like she was no longer a threat, just another fighter between events. The arena walls still hummed with power. The guards outside acted casual, but Lena knew. She felt the shift in air pressure, the slight change. In gravity, she was already awake. She sat on the floor in silence as the temperature in her cell dropped sharply. A faint hiss, a mist of freezing gas crept in through the vents. Then came the first whisper of footsteps. No sound. It's just the movement of air. She stood slowly. "I know you're here," she said softly. Nothing responded, but they were already inside. The first assassin struck from behind. A thin blade aimed for her neck. Lena turned just enough for it to miss her artery and cut her shoulder instead. Blood ran, but she didn't flinch. She grabbed the arm, twisted it, crack, and drove the broken bone back through the assassin's ribs. One down. The second attacked from above, from the ceiling vent. He dropped silently, double knives ready.
Out.
Lena let herself fall backward, landed hard, and kicked upward with both legs. His neck snapped with a sharp pop, two down. The third and fourth came together, one using a sound-canceling cloak, the other with paralyzing darts that targeted nerve endings. The darts hit her back. Lena stumbled. Her limbs stiffened. Her fingers twitched, but she smiled. New trick. She whispered. She let her body collapse, fully limp. Bait. The cloaked one stepped forward, reaching for the kill too close. Lena's eyes shot open. Her hand moved in one blur of motion. The cloak deactivated. The assassin froze, shocked, not at being seen, but at the blade now stuck through his chest. Lena had taken the first assassin's knife. Before she fell, 3 down. The last one. The dart specialist started to run smart. Too late. Lena's eyes glowed faintly. Her body twitched once, then recovered fully. The dart's neurotoxin had been overridden by her internal system. She was adapting faster now. The mutations were growing. She sprinted after him faster than before, silent, cold. She caught him at the end of the corridor, pinned him against the wall and whispered in his ear, "You were trained to kill legends." He trembled. She pressed her hand to his chest. "But I'm not a legend. I'm the beginning." She struck once. Clean. He dropped 4 down. The alarms didn't ring. No, guards came. The warlords had sent the assassins in silence, and silence returned, but now their plan had failed. In the secret war room high above the arena, the alien lords watched her on screen. She walked calmly through the hallway, blood dripping from her shoulder, her eyes locked on the camera. Then she spoke. "Into the lens, you keep sending fighters." She stepped closer. "But what you don't understand is... ... The screen flickered. ... I'm not here to fight. Flicker. I'm here to burn your lies down. Flicker. To make you remember. Flicker what it feels like... ... to be afraid." The feed cut, and in the silence that followed, the arena's master general leaned back in his seat and whispered, "She's learning too fast." One of the warlords asked, "What do we do?" But the answer didn't come, because at that very moment, deep beneath the arena, a locked door opened, and Lena stepped inside something ancient, something forgotten, something made for war. The door hissed open with a sound that hadn't echoed in centuries. Thick dust lifted into the air, floating in slow motion as Lena stepped into the darkness. No guards had followed her, no alarms triggered, no cameras tracked her, because this door wasn't supposed to exist. Beneath the blood arena, beyond steel, past sealed corridors no one remembered, she had found it, a hidden path behind the ventilation shaft, uncovered when she fought the last assassin and noticed the airflow shifting. Her senses had become sharp, sharper than even she expected. And now, she was walking through a hallway made of old earth metal, not alien. Human lights flickered weakly overhead. Dust-covered control panels lined the walls, still running on. Emergency power. Lena touched one of the screens. Soft blue glow flickered on. Genesis Vault 13 status. Dormant last entry. 58 galactic cycles ago. A spark of memory stabbed into Lena's mind. Vault-13. She remembered that name. She had seen it once. Buried in the last files transmitted from Earth. The last black site. Laboratory. The place where her blood came from. Not her family, not her birth, her purpose. She stepped deeper. The hallway opened into a circular chamber, massive and hollow. Giant containment pods stood in rows, cracked, shattered, empty. She walked past the first one. Inside was a skeleton. Human, but not normal. The bones were thick, titanium threaded. Muscles had once wrapped them like armor. Label read, Subject 07, Rook. The next pod was burned. Beside lay pieces of metal and bone melted together. Subject 10, Iris. Then she saw pod still glowing faint green dot. Her own face looked back at her. The display screen read, Subject 13, Lena Ward status. Activated. Sequence complete. She stared at the pod, breathing slower now. Her mind was racing. She hadn't survived. The arena. She hadn't escaped Earth. She had been sent. Sent as the ignition point for something bigger, something buried. And it wasn't just her. Lena turned slowly, following a soft humming from the far wall. A control panel stood untouched, protected. By an old biometric scanner, she placed her palm on it. It blinked green. Access granted. A large steel door opened with a deep groan. Inside was a single black chair facing a tall terminal, humming softly. Behind it, rows of cryotanks, dozens of them. Lena stepped closer. The first cryotank hissed. Inside was a young girl, no older than 12, sleeping, pale skin, his thick veins glowing blue beneath the surface. The next tank held a boy, and another, then a teen, then a soldier. Some were children, some were fully grown, all human, all enhanced, all like her. The words on the wall said it all. Project, Vindicator in defeat, scatter the seeds. In silence, wait. When the fire returns, rise. Lena stepped back, her heart pounding. This wasn't just a hidden lab. It was a buried human army, a plan made in Earth's final moments. If the planet fell, the enemy would believe they had one. They would mock, celebrate, relax, and then one by one, weapons would awaken, hidden in enemy worlds, scattered across the stars, silent, watching, growing stronger. Lena looked at the nearest camera embedded in the wall. She knew the warlords were watching again. The system had reconnected to the surface feed. She stared straight into the lens and whispered, "You thought you destroyed us." Then louder, "You didn't destroy anything." She pressed her palm against the cryo-tank controls. All of them turned. Green dot, the chamber began to hum with power. Life signs spiked. Slow heartbeats began to rise. Its eyes began to flicker open. And Lena Ward, Subject 13, said the words that would echo through the stars. "You just woke us up." The warlords screamed into their consoles. The screen showed Lena Ward standing in the awakening chamber, dozens of tanks hissing open behind her. Vital signs lit up in green across the walls. Children, teenagers, grown men and women, all human, all enhanced, all waking up. "She's triggering a mass activation," one of the alien commanders shouted. "Shut it down. Wipe the entire level. Lock the fusion grid. Seal the lower vault." But it was too late. Far below the blood arena, inside Vault 13, the chamber was fully online. The backup reactors, hidden beneath alien tech for years, hummed with growing energy. Everything had been built to hide in plain sight, coded to respond to only one thing, Lena's DNA. And now it was answering her call. One cryotank after another opened. The newly awakened humans blinked against the light. Some were disoriented. Others stood up without hesitation. One of them, a tall boy with silver eyes, looked at Lena and nodded. 13, he said quietly. She looked at him. 6. "Still breathing?" he replied. Another girl joined them. Oh, then 2 more. All of them wore simple black suits that molded perfectly to their bodies. One had different skills. Memory flashes hit them like lightning. Combat, language, interface. Control, neuroweapon, syncing. Earth's best minds had crafted them not for war, but for reset. Lena stepped forward and raised her hand to the main terminal. The screen blinked. Awakened units. 37 standby units. 62 tactical mode. Online signal protocol. INITI Chet pressed her palm on the final command. A low sound filled the chamber, then across the arena, across the city, and across orbiting warship systems began to crash. Security doors failed. Communication links distorted. Targeting systems lost all calibration. And in the flagship orbiting above the planet, the bridge crew screamed as every screen on their ship showed the same human message. Vindicator Protocol. ACTIVATID. One commander blinked in disbelief. It's coming from inside the girl, from her cells. She's a transmitter. Another shouted. Her blood is a living signal array. Lena had never needed a device. She was the device. A living weapon designed not just to fight, but to spread disruption. Her heartbeat carried coded signals. Her presence infected alien systems like a virus, and now she was awake. And so were the others. In the streets of the alien capital, sirens screamed, warlords barked orders, people ran, but in the sky above them, the orbital defense grid began turning on itself. Giant defense cannons rotated. Long-range drones went dark. Warships lost power. Civilian crafts dropped out of the air like stones. The crowd in the blood arena, still in shock from her last appearance, now looked up to see black smoke rising from the towers above. Then the arena screens flickered again. Lena stood in full view, dozens of super soldiers behind her. She looked directly into the camera. "This isn't war," she said. "This is payback." She stepped forward. "You broadcast our deaths for entertainment. You turned our pain into a show.
No.
Let me return the favor." She raised her hand. "Smile for the cameras." Every one of the awakened humans lifted their heads. Their eyes glowed, and all across the planet. The human signal spread, shutting down fleets, crumbling walls, and wiping out control centers in seconds. The warlords had made one mistake. They thought Earth died in silence, but Earth had gone quiet for one reason: to prepare. Smoke rose into the red sky. Screams echoed through the alien city. Fires burned in the towers. Warships fell from orbit like dying stars. Their engines fried by the virus Lena had carried in her blood, the Earthborn signal known only as Vindicator. And now, she wasn't the only one carrying it. 30-7 others stood beside her. Enhanced humans like her, trained in silence, hidden beneath enemy feet, sleeping for decades under alien stadiums, prisons, and bases. And now, all awake, the chamber floor trembled beneath them as hidden weapons rose from the walls. Ancient Terran designs lost to time, kinetic blades, gravity pulse rifles, ion disruptors made from blacklight metals Earth had kept secret. They didn't grab the weapons. They didn't need to. Their bodies were weapons. Lena stood at the center of the group, calm, still barefoot. Her shoulder was still marked by the cut from the assassin's blade, but her eyes no longer carried pain. They carried command. She looked at each of them. The youngest was only 10. The oldest, maybe 20. All genetically built. All selected from Earth's final generation. All created for one purpose. Not revenge. Not survival correction. She raised her voice. This isn't about what they did to us. The room fell silent. It's about what they didn't know, that we were never broken, just scattered. She stepped forward and placed her hand on a circular terminal. A holographic map bloomed into the air, showing a vast star system. With red dots across hundreds of planets, each red dot blinked dot, each barked a buried Vindicator vault. She stared at the map, her voice low and steady. They thought we were extinct. Behind her, the 37 Vindicators stood like statues of war. But we were planted. Across their worlds, buried like landmines. Waiting, she turned to the others. It's time. They nodded. She activated the map. The red dots turned. Green, one by one, across the stars, others woke up, on the mining moons of Korath 6. A little girl with metal-threaded bones opened her eyes in a dark pit, on the gas giant outpost of Salvar Prime. A teen boy stepped out of a sewer hatch, his breath steady, his memory returning, on a slave colony near the edge of the Orion Rift. 3 children walked away from their masters untouched by shock collars, unaffected by sleep gas. Their eyes glowing blue. All of them heard. The same pulse in their heads. Lena's signal. Earth's voice. The crowd in the blood arena watched in frozen silence. The broadcast was still on. The warlords couldn't shut it down. Lena had hijacked the entire galactic network. She looked into the camera one last time. You laughed at The Last of Us. The lights behind her glowed green. You called us weak. Behind her, the new generation of soldiers stepped into formation. But you forgot something. She raised her hand and pointed toward the sky. We were never trying to win a war. She smiled. We were building something worse. The screen turned black and across the galaxy. The word humanity burned onto every display. No longer a forgotten species. No longer prey. Now, a reckoning.